What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the NASCAR Truck Series race for DraftKings. This race is on Sunday, so be sure to keep that in tune. I mean, usually we have the truck race on either Friday or Saturday, but this one's actually Sunday before the Cup race, so be sure to look out. Be sure to make sure you know when that is actually happening, but we're here to break it all down for you. Before I do that, if you're new to this channel, make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, turn notification bell. All that stuff really helps me grow. Had a lot of growth throughout NFL, NASCAR, NBA season. So NASCAR is coming to a close, but NFL is still going on, so be sure to stick around for that content. And college basketball is coming up soon. I'm really excited for that. So let's get into the drivers, where we are going to start out with Austin Hill, the most expensive driver on the slate, at 11,200, starting third. Now, Austin Hill doesn't really have the best results at Texas. As you see, he only has the 9th best average finish here, but he does have the 6th best at intermediates, 8th at large ovals, and 11th at cookie cutters. I mean, this really isn't the track where I expect Austin Hill to be great at, but he does have 34 laps led at Texas, 396 at intermediate tracks, and 243 at large ovals, and then he has a 97 at cookie cutters, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is the third most in the field. So he does have success leading laps, it just somehow doesn't always find a way to finish the best. When we go look at the last 5 races for him, he has an average finish of 8 and 117 laps led, which is the third most in the field. So I'm never going to tell you not to play Austin Hill. He always has the upside to dominate the race and win the race. So definitely always going to be one of my favorite plays on the slate. I'll be playing some Austin Hill. He just leads the laps, and that's what we're really looking for points. And usually when you lead laps, you find a way to finish up front. So hopefully you'll find a way to finish up front here. So definitely going to be going to some Austin Hill. Zane Smith starts 5th. I don't have a average finish for him, but he does have at Texas, but he does have the best average finish at intermediates, large ovals, and cookie cutter tracks. Yeah, he's really good at these intermediate tracks. I mean, he probably should have won a race. It would have been between him and Moffett last week if it wasn't for that, the contact that sent Smith spinning. He's just really good at these type of tracks. I mean, yeah, no laps led at Texas, but 162 at intermediates and 162 at large ovals and 46 at cookie cutters. So he's really good at these types of tracks. I'm definitely going to be getting some Zane Smith. He's definitely one of my favorite plays. Again, he's the second most expensive for a reason. In the last 5 races, he does only have an average finish of 12.2. And only 81 laps led, but we know he should have finished first or second last week, so that average finish should be bumped up a little bit, and I think he ended up finishing 10th or 11th. So starting 5th, he's definitely someone I want to get some exposure to. Definitely going to be one of my top dominator plays on the slate. Brett Moffitt's 10,500, starting 2nd. He has the 8th best average finish at Texas, the 5th best at intermediates, 5th best at large ovals, and 10th best at cookie cutters. When it goes to average position, though, he does have the best at intermediates and 2nd at large ovals and 3rd at cookie cutters. So he does know how to run around up towards the front. 33 laps led at Texas, 512, which is the most in the field at intermediates, and 307, which is also the most in the field at large ovals, and then 72 at cookie cutter tracks. Fresh off a win at Kansas last week that put him into the championship 4. I'm definitely going to think he's going to come back and contend for another win this week as well. Definitely going to be one of the guys I want to get into his lineups. He has an average finish of 6.4 in the last 5 races and 228 laps led. Dude's been running really, really well recently. He's looking like he's going to be contending for this championship. So he is contending for a championship. Looks like he could win this championship. So I'm really going to get to some Brett Moffett again. Sheldon Creed starts on the pole. Now, this is not a track he's done well at. 13th best average finish at Texas, 13th at intermediates, 14th at large ovals, and 14th at cookie cutters. This is not the type of track where he finishes well at, but he does find a way to lead laps. Only 7 at Texas, but 411 at intermediate tracks and 173 at large ovals and 14 at cookie cutters. That stands out to me more than the average finish. Last week was another race. He was leading a bunch of laps, had tire issues that did not allow him to finish well. He has 232 laps led in the last 5 races and an average finish of 9.2. So I'm still going to go back to Sheldon Creed. He had a average finishes may not show, but the laps led definitely does. I definitely think he's definitely someone who could go out and dominate, win this race, punch his ticket into the Final Four as well. So definitely someone to get some exposure to. Now, James Buescher is the new driver in the field. He starts 35th. He's $9,900 on DraftKings. He is someone that, he hasn't raced in years, but he's a past truck champion. He's driving for Nice Motorsports this week, which is pretty decent equipment. But, it's hard for me to really say I want to pay for him. I want to pay for him. I definitely want to pay for James Buescher because I know he's got upside. I know he's a really good driver. He hasn't drove in years, though. But, if I'm paying for James Buescher, then I'm probably force myself not to get one of those other 4 I just talked about who are more than likely going to be the dominators of this race. And that really makes me question if I really want to get there. He's a good play. If you're playing cash, play James Buescher. Let's just get that out of the way. Cash, he's a great play. But tournaments, I don't really know how much I want to get there just because I would rather pay for the guys that have more laps led upside than James Buescher, who I really don't know if he really has a top 5 upside shot here. Like, I think more than likely, yeah, you get a top 10, but like, I mean, he hasn't raced in years, man. Like, it's been like 4 or 5 years since James Buescher's raced. So that's a long time. I don't know if I really want to get there. I mean, I think he's fine. It's just, I wish he was a little cheaper. I wish he was like in the 8Ks. Then it'd be a different story. But 9,900, it's almost 10K. That scares me a little bit. Christian Eckes has $9,700, starting 9th. He has the 4th best average finish at intermediates, the 2nd best at large ovals, and the 2nd best at cookie cutters. We go look at lap sled, 0 at Texas, but 156 at intermediates, 94 at large ovals, and 70 at cookie cutters. I mean, I think the thing for me of Christian Eckes is like he isn't really in a spot where he's, I mean, like his season's over. Like, they're not in the playoffs anymore. I don't think he's really going to be dominating. Like, I'm not saying he doesn't want to dominate and win the race. Like, he definitely, that's probably his only goal out here. But you have other drivers that are still trying to like make the championship for him, win the championship, who are probably even more motivated than Christian Eckes is right now. So I stayed away from him last week. It worked out pretty good. I think I'm going to stay away from him again. I just don't think that, I don't really like, in all 3 series, I don't really like when a driver gets eliminated, really paying for him if you as a dominator play. If you're playing him as a place differential play, like we have Harrison Burton last week in the Xfinity series, I think that's fine. But if you're playing him as a dominator play, I don't want to get there. I mean, really, my 4 main dominators are probably going to be those first 4. I'm probably going to make sure that like at least every single lineup has probably at least 2 of those guys. Honestly, it's going to make me punt some value, but I think that's really the way that this race is going to work. Dylan Lupton's 9,500, starting 28th. He's driving for the DGR truck. He had a good run in his one race earlier this year with this team. So in that number 17, we saw Haley Deegan drive last week. We've seen David Reagan drive earlier this year. So it's a fast truck. Definitely can get up inside that top 10. I'm cool with Dylan Lupton. I think he's a fine play. We've seen him run well earlier this year. So yeah, Dylan Lupton's fine. Grant Infinger starts 4th. He is, God, I don't care about Code Academy right now. Grant Infinger is 4th. He's $9,300, or he starts 4th. He's $9,300. He has the 3rd best average finish at Texas, 3rd best at intermediates, 4th best at large ovals, 3rd best at cookie cutters. He's really good at these types of tracks. 59 laps led at Texas, 297 at intermediates, 248 at large ovals, and 72 at cookie cutters. So he knows how to get around these types of tracks, lead laps. He has an average finish of 4.2 in the last 5 races, has been running really well, but only 19 laps led, which is a little bit scary, but we know Grant Infinger can just kind of, every once in a while, just has these races that just dominates and wins. So I'm definitely going to get some Grant Infinger this week. I think he's definitely someone, if you're looking for a lower or a cheaper dominator, he's probably the spot to go down here. I don't think any of these other guys really have a ton of dominator upside, but Grant Infinger does. So I think he's someone definitely get some ownership to. Todd Gilman starts 11th. He has the 5th best average finish at Texas, 8th at intermediates, 10th at large ovals, and 6th at cookie cutters. When we go look at lap sled, he does have 153 laps led at Texas. He dominated a race here. I don't know if it was last year, 2 years ago, and I believe he won. So, I mean, he's just really, he had a great race, but he's in different equipment. He used to drive for KBM, and now he's on that number 37 truck. I don't even really know what team that is, but they're solid equipment, nothing what he used to drive. Which just, this year hasn't been a year where Todd Gilman's been leading a ton of laps, like 0 in the last 5 races, average finish of 12.8. I think he has some place differential upside. He can get up inside the top 5, and I think that's a fine way to play him, but he's not going to be a dominator. Neither is, I don't think really the rest of these guys are really have much dominator upside. I think there's 2 down there that could, but Matt Crafton isn't one. This year, another driver hasn't led a ton of laps, but he does have the 2nd best average finish at Texas, 2nd at intermediates, 2nd at large ovals, and 4th at cookie cutters. He has 0 laps led at Texas over the last 2 years, only 106 at intermediates, 92 at large ovals, and 26 at cookie cutters. In the last 5 races, he has an average finish of 8.6 and 25 laps led. I mean, he's fine. If you want to get there, he'll probably hang inside top 5, get a top 5 finish, but that's a little expensive just to pay for a top 5 finish, in my opinion. I don't really want to pay that much for him. Johnny Sauter has been horrible this year. We're going to keep avoiding him. Ben Rhodes starts 7th. He has 7th best average finish at Texas, 9th at intermediates, 7th at large ovals, and 9th at cookie cutters. When you go look at laps led, only 23 at Texas, 129 at intermediates, 107 at large ovals, and 42 at cookie cutters. Last 5 races, an average finish of 12 and 70 laps led. This is one of 2 guys down here I think has dominator upside. I don't think he's going to be a dominator. I probably just am not going to play him as a dominator, but he does have that, the ability to do that. We've seen him go out there and lead tons of laps in races before at intermediate tracks like this, and that could happen again, but I think it's more likely that some of these other drivers do it than Ben Rhodes, but he definitely has the upside. And the other guy that does have that upside as well is Tyler Ankrum, who has the best average finish at Texas in the field at 4.5, 12th best average finish at intermediates, 13th at large ovals, 8th at cookie cutters. When you go look at lap sled, he only has 9 at Texas, but 52 at intermediates and 52 at large ovals. This is a guy that has shown the ability to lead laps at these intermediate tracks. He needs a win to move on to the next round of playoffs. He got wrecked pretty early last week, and it's pretty much winner go home for Tyler Ankrum at this point. So I would not be surprised to see him push it really, really hard and contend for this win. I mean, I don't think he's going to be a dominator, but like I think he's fine. If you want to take that risk and go for it, go for it. But for the most part, probably not going to go there. Stewart Friesen starts 20th, 8,100. I think he's fine. 5th best average finish at intermediate or at Texas. 10th at intermediates, 9th at large ovals, and 7th at cookie cutters. He's not going to lead laps. He hasn't been able to lead laps this year at all. So that's probably not somewhere I really want to look to. But an average finish of 13.5 in the last 5 races. He has top 10 upside, and that'll pay off for that $8,100 price tag. So I think he's fine. Same thing with Tanner Gray, another driver with top 10 upside. Starts 22nd. He has the 11th best average finish at intermediates, 12th at large ovals, and 16th at cookie cutters. In the last 5 races for Tanner Gray, he has an average finish of 12.75. So he can get up inside that top 15 for sure, and then possibly get him inside the top 10, which is going to be a really nice value. Derek Kraus, $7,800. I think he's okay. 14th best average finish at intermediate tracks, 6th at large ovals, and 12th at cookie cutters. In the last 5 races for Derek Kraus, he has an average finish of only 15.8 though. I mean, he can just hang around inside the top 10. He'll be okay, but the upside's like for a top 5 for him is there. It's not that great, not that high of upside, but it's there. So I think he's fine. I wouldn't really want to. I don't think he's like a top play for me, but he's okay if you want to get there. I don't hate it, but probably not something I'm really going to get on. Ryan Truex, $7,600, starts 13th. For me, I'm just really going to go look at the last 5 races for him. Average finish of 12th. Like, he can hang around up there, maybe contend for a top 10. No one's going to play Ryan Truex because nobody ever plays Ryan Truex. But he's fine if you really want to go there. I'm probably not going to get a ton of ownership to him because there's one guy in his price range that I really like a little bit more who we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, Ryan Truex probably isn't the spot. Trevor Bayne, I'm not going to play. I don't ever play Trevor Bayne. He had actually a pretty solid run last week, but that was it for the year. I don't expect that to really continue here at Texas, so I'm probably just going to avoid him. Now, Rafael Assart I'd like. He starts 19th and he's 7,300. He's still priced at what he was at when he was starting like in the top 10. Now he's starting 19th and he's still priced down there. He has the 15th best average finish at intermediates and large ovals and cookie cutters. All of them ranked 15th. When you go look at the last 5 races for Rafael Assart, only an average finish of 17.5. But I mean, he crashed out in the last race at Texas. That's going to really skew that big time. He has top 10 upside. He has top 5 upside because he's in that Kyle Busch Motorsports truck. I definitely like Rafael Assart. He's just too cheap. Like, you just look at all the drivers in this price range, and the equipment and talent combined is just so much better than everybody else around him that I just want to get there. I think he's too cheap. For only $7,300 for Rafael Assart starting 19th, I'm going to get a good bit of him. I think he's a great play. I don't want to get there. And I think Chase Purdy's also fine at $7,100. He's driving a 24 Ford truck for GMS Racing. He has a 20th best average finish at intermediates, 19th at large ovals. I haven't really been that impressed by Chase Purdy this year. I don't think he's that good personally, but he's in good equipment. His only race in the last 5 races, he finished 27th, so that's not really too great. But I mean, he's fine. He has upside because of the truck he's in to get up inside the top, at least top 20, and definitely in top 15, maybe even in top 10. So I'll get some exposure there, but I would kind of temper my expectations there a little bit. Dawson Cram starts 25th. I'm going to keep avoiding him. Like, he's just not good. He had a good run last week, but that was because there was a ton of accidents. But average finish of 30.33 in the last 5 is not somewhere I want to go. Same thing with Josh Rayumi. He's too expensive. I don't understand why he's $1,600. He starts 33rd, which I guess that's why, but like, he's not been running well. Last 5 races, he has an average finish of 30.2, so I don't want to go there. Danny Bone, if you want to get someone cheaper, I mean, I guess he's okay, but he starts 18th. That's way too high for me to really want to get there. Average finish of 24 in the last 5 races. Starting 18th is not someone I really want to get to. Trey Hutchins, though, I think is fine. Starts 36th. He's 6,500. 14th best average finish at Texas. I mean, 30th at intermediates and 30th at large ovals isn't great, but 17th at cookie cutters. He's not going to lead you laps. He hasn't raced in the last 5 races, but in the few races he's run this year, I think he had 1 DNF and 1 race he ran pretty solid. He can only go up, so I don't hate it. He should definitely be able to get at least top 30 as long as he doesn't have mechanical problems, and maybe higher. So I think Trey Hutchins is a solid play that I'm definitely going to get some exposure to. The value on this slate sucks. Like, it's not a nice value slate at all, which is going to be hard to fit into those top dominators, but it's not a good value slate. Anyway, Tyler Hill, 6,300, starts 15th. Look, I like Tyler Hill, but he starts too high, man. I mean, I know he has an average finish of 15.5 in the last 5 races, which is pretty good, but like, I don't think there's anywhere for him to go up. I mean, I guess he can hang around there. If you want to get some exposure to Tyler Hill, I think it's okay, but I wouldn't get it too much. Austin Wayne Self's the same thing. Like, it's just thin. These guys feel thin at their starting spots. $6,200, 17th. I mean, he does have the 12th best average finish at Texas, 17th at intermediates and large ovals, and then 18th at cookie cutters. Last 5 races only has an average finish of 21.4 though, which is really not that great. So that's not something I want to go to that much. I mean, I think I'm going to have to get some exposure to him because I'm going to need some value, but like, that is not something that I feel very confident in. Jordan Anderson, I'm not going to play. Norm Benning, I'm not going to play. Josh Bilicki's 5,600. He's in the Rayomi Brothers truck. Last 5 races for him, he has an average finish of 26.33. I think he's okay. He has upside to get inside the top 25, and that's pretty much what we're looking for at this point because the value is so bad. Tate Fogelman starts 16th at 5,500. Like, I like to play Tate Fogelman when he starts outside the top 20, but starting 16th seems kind of thin to me. Average finish is 16.8. Like, he feels like a very similar play to Tyler Hill. And I think I like him a little bit more just because he's cheaper. So if you want to get Tate Fogelman, I understand that, but he still feels really thin to me. Spencer Boyd starts 21st. Like, all these guys down here, like Boyd, Cicerelli, Decker, Greenfield, Cotton Veins, we never play, but Boyd's last 5 races, average finish is 24.6. Cicerelli's is 26, and Natalie Decker's is 33. Like, that's going backwards for Boyd. That's going up 3 spots for Cicerelli, and Natalie Decker's terrible, so yeah, it's thin. The value down here is definitely thin. If you want to get some value, I think Fogelman's okay. Bilicki's fine. Self's okay. Tyler Hill's okay. Hutchins, I mean, that doesn't even feel like value because if you want to get 2 of these guys up here, that's tough. So, maybe it's only going to be one of these guys up here in lineups this week. But if you can find a way to get them in there, I think that's really the way to go is to have probably 2 of these guys because lap sled are so important in NASCAR, DraftKings, but yeah, I think that's really all I got to say on this. Thank you guys so much for checking this out. Remember, this race is Sunday, not Friday, not Saturday, Sunday. So be sure to have lineups in by then. I mean, it's not, if you want to get your lineups in by Friday, that's great. Contests won't fill, but contests never fill for Truck Series anyway. But thank you guys so much for checking this out. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Make sure to check out my NFL stuff as well, my other NASCAR videos that are going to be coming out later today and tomorrow. So have a great rest of your weekend.